Alright, there we go. I was able to get these donuts. Carefully took them off the old pipe, and looks like they're in good enough shape to reuse. So let's bolt the pipe to the manifold. Alright, I got my exhaust manifold studs. Put some anti-seize compound on all of them. I don't know how much that's going to help on something that's hot like an exhaust manifold, but it certainly isn't going to hurt. I think the copper type of anti-seize compound is better for high heat stuff, but the silver stuff's what I had, so on it goes. Oh yeah, one other thing. Before I put this pipe in, I gotta have to deal with this O2 sensor bung. So let me get something welded in there so we don't have to worry about that. Now, it looks to me like the perfect thing to block off that hole is going to be this carriage bolt. It fits in there perfect. I'll just cut off the threaded portion and we'll just weld right around there, and that'll seal that hole right up. So I'll just cut off all the threads off this bolt, and that ought to work perfect. Actually, I was going to cut that threads off that bolt with my die grinder, but the air compressor was unplugged and low on pressure. It took longer to pump the air compressor up than it did to cut this off with a hacksaw. So now I pretty much just got this button here from cutting that bolt off. And I'll just put it right in that hole. I think that'll be the perfect plug. And I'll just weld that, that bolt head on there, and that ought to take care of that. Alright, I'll weld this up here using a 6011 rod, 3/32 inch, and about 90 amps on my welder. Alright, 32nd inch, 6011 rod, 90 amps. Here we go. Alright, that takes care of that. Alright, that's all welded up, and I guarantee you that isn't going to give us any problems. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to duplicate that flange. Now that flange looks like it's about 3/8 of an inch thick, so we'll cut a piece of 3/8 inch steel in the same shape as that, and that ought to make her work. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. First of all, we know it needs to be the same size as this gasket right here, so that gasket is going to be the perfect item for a template for us. So we're just going to whack off a section of this. It doesn't have to, nothing too sexy yet. We're just going to get a rough shape here, or a rough amount we need to make our piece. Now I wouldn't even have to make this flange at all. I could just cut that flange off a piece of pipe that I ordered and just used muffler clamps, but sometimes I just like doing stuff for the challenge, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Plus I want to show you guys something. I used the size too big a hole saw, and it fits sloppy over my muffler there, so it would be hard to weld without burning through that. However, on the plus side, I'm actually going to save myself a little work. According to my calipers, this pipe will slip right inside that muffler. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut this flange off, and then we will just clamp her on there. I might even braze it. I'll probably slide on there, see if there's room to slide the whole assembly on. If there is, I'll braze it together here on the vise. All right, this muffler slips over the end of this pipe. I cut off that flange. I cut off the flange off the end of this pipe with a Sawzall because it slips. This muffler just slips perfectly over the end of this pipe. So I'm just going to braze that on. All right, we're getting these nuts started on this exhaust manifold here. And for some reason it's double nutted. I don't know, that's the way it was, so that's why I'm putting it back. There's 2 nuts on there. So it takes a deep well socket to get the nut started. Or the first nut all the way down on that flange there. But to get them started, what you're going to have to do, because you can't reach them with your fingers, is what I did here is I took a standard socket on an extension, and I put a nut in the extension. Let's see if I get that. So I put a nut in there in that socket, a standard size socket, to space out the nut to the end. Then I put another nut here in the end. Otherwise, the socket slides too far down in the nut slides too far down in the socket to start. So I have that nut just like that with another nut in that socket, and I'll space that nut out far enough that I can get it started on the stud. Okay, there we have it, sports fans. The hard part's done. Now, some of this it took just about every bit of ingenuity and expertise that I had to get that job done. Everything from putting a tape around a socket to putting a nut inside a socket to space out the nut so you could get it started. But we got all those nuts on that exhaust manifold. All 3 of them, they're double nutted. We got our clamp here. It takes a clamp that goes to a bracket to the transmission to secure the exhaust. We got that done. That's the hard part. The next part is just going to be clamping on the tailpipe, and we're done. All right, here's our tailpipe. Pretty simple, just some off-the-shelf parts from a discount auto store. This kind of pipe, it doesn't last all that long, but it ought to last long enough for me. So it's just a matter of slipping on that 45-degree elbow piece and then putting on that short piece of tailpipe and put one hanger on, and this job is done. Okay, there we have it, sports fans. It's pretty cold here now. It's probably about, down to about 20 degrees. So, but we got the exhaust system done, and I'm satisfied with it. The truck will be quiet enough that I won't get a ticket, and I got a tailpipe on it, so it's not going underneath the bed, so it won't be quite as loud in the cab. Total cost on is about 150 bucks. 60 bucks for that front pipe there, 30 bucks for the muffler, 30, probably, geez, maybe about 20 bucks for these 2 pieces of pipe here, and about $30 in hangers and clamps. Yeah, the stuff adds up. I got 5 clamps on there, including ones. I got 2 that are just there to go on an exhaust hanger. So 3 clamps to hold the exhaust together and 2 clamps for hangers. So there it is. It's all brand new pipe, front to back. Doesn't have any leaks on it, and it should serve me well, quite well, probably until as long as I own this truck. So that's all we have there, sports fans. So if you like what you saw, I appreciate it if you like, share it, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you here on the Fix Yourself channel.